Hi, I'm Gabrielle Brickey, aka Artwork by Gabrielle, and I'm super excited to draw together today. So let's get started. So if you've been following me on any social media for the past few months, you know that I have a recent obsession with Ohuhu markers. They're incredible markers. Not sponsored, just great markers. So getting started here, I'm using R120 Light Prawn, this pretty like pinky coral color, to color in her hair here. And for these longer pieces that kind of flow down, I'm using long flowing strokes. And when I'm doing these strokes, I am thinking and being conscious of the pressure I'm putting down on my marker too. So if I want the stroke to be nice and thick and bold, I'm pressing down hard. And then as I'm going towards the tips here, I'm kind of lifting off to get that thinner mark and that lighter mark. And I'm just going with the flow of the hair. I'm going with the flow of the line art that I have down here. And if you've watched any of these videos, you know that my recent process that I'm really enjoying is sketching my characters out in Procreate first, and then printing them out, and then just coloring on the printout. It's almost like working with a coloring book or something. And I find this process so fun and so freeing, and I would definitely recommend it because you know how when you're working on like a pencil sketch of a character or something, and you go and you're like, oh, do I color it? Do I not? I'm not really sure. I don't want to ruin it. So I've eliminated that whole scenario. And so I sketch my character in Procreate, and then I kind of put her on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in Photoshop. And then I head over to my mom's house, who lives right next door to me, and I grab her HP MV 5660 printer, and I print out my sketch. And the paper I use is, I think, pretty essential to this whole process too. It's the HP Premium 32-pound paper, and it is just incredible paper. It's so beautiful. It's bright white and soft and just smooth, and I love it I love using it for any type of printing project, really. It's great paper, and it's great for sketching too. So I would highly recommend that. And so yeah, I print out really a couple versions of my sketch. I even change up the line art color sometimes too. And then I just have some line art to play with and experiment with, so I can feel free to just have some fun, try colors I wouldn't normally try, be bold and take the piece further than I normally would. And I don't have to worry about a precious pencil sketch. That's really the main thing. I don't have to worry about ruining anything because it's just a printout. So that's kind of my process here. All right, so now I'm gonna grab the R29 pear color. And I got a crazy crow outside. If you can hear it squawking away at any point in this video, I apologize for the crow. So now I'm using R29 pear color, and I'm using these tight circular motions to color in the skin. And what I do is I just like to use these really tight little squiggles, and I just go around each little section. And what's nice is nothing bleeds because I let my prints dry for like a day or two before I draw on them. But, you know, sometimes pencil lead can kind of like smudge, but I haven't experienced that with any of the materials I'm using here, which is really, really nice. So I'm using just these tight little circular oval shapes to color in the skin. And now moving on to the neck here, I like to kind of outline where my line art is. And then I'm just making some strokes, kind of flowing the way the neck would. And you'll notice with my strokes, I go over top of the one I just did. So I kind of overlap it a little bit. And then here again on the shoulder, just kind of outlining where the line art is and then using those tight round squigglies to color this in. And this process is just really easy with these markers to get a nice smooth patch of color. When I first used them, I was like, this is incredible. I was like, wow. I was literally wowed when I first used them. All right, so now for the lips, I'm gonna grab the R120 and we're just gonna use the same color that we used for the hair. I think this would be a nice color to try. It's a nice lip color. And with alcohol-based markers, there can be a little bit of bleed. So sometimes I like to go just up to the line art and then see if it will kind of bleed a little into the line art line itself. Because sometimes with lips, because it's such a tight little feature, sometimes if I do right up to the line or right over the line art, it can kind of bleed outside those lines with the marker. So just be aware of that. And now with the eyes, I'm using G320 Jade Green. It's a pretty color. Just coloring in the iris. All right, so that's the base colors down. So now I'm just gonna add a little bit of depth. So I'm gonna take E470 and darken up this cast shadow here and this sort of cast shadow around where the hair would cast a shadow on her face. And then I'm just gonna work that right into the hair too. I think that would be a good color. Actually, it's kind of sinking right into the hair there. It's kind of interesting. It's always fun to see what these colors do and how they react with each other. Just trying this color out. It's kind of going on and then kind of just sinking right in, so I might need to get something a little darker. Let me see here. All right, I might come back to the hair and deepen that up in a minute. Now I'm going to take YR070 and just darken that cast shadow on the neck. And I'm going to darken here around the eyes as well. And then I'm going to use R29 Pear Color to just darken up these eyebrows. I'm always a little hesitant with the eyebrows to match it up exactly with the color of the hair, just because I don't want it to look like this bright blast of color on the eyebrows. So I tend to go with a more subdued, neutral color for eyebrows, even if the hair is, you know, wild color like pink. So now I'm just putting in some white highlights, emphasizing those white highlights in her eyes. I love drawing little white highlights, it's so fun. All right, so now I just want to give a little bit more attention to the eyeglasses. So I'm just adding like a little line highlight here. I don't know if it works, but it's just a little bit more detail. And if I ever go like too far with white gel pen, I just dab it with my finger real quick and it usually knocks it down a little bit. Now I'm just doing a little line highlight on her nose, a little highlight there. Dab, dab. And then I think I want to I think I want to add a little bit of a inner corner eye highlight there too, just a little bit. Sometimes if I can't get my ink to flow on my white gel pen, I'll do a couple dabs like on the back of my hand, and that'll get the ink flowing again. All right, now with R29, I'm just deepening up right around the eyeglasses rim here. Just right around the edge. And then with R090, light tea rose, I'm just darkening up right under the nose and around just a couple details on the ears. I definitely don't like to draw in every detail with my characters, so a lot of the anatomy is left out with the ears, but I find that if I put in all that detail with the anatomy, it takes away from the simplified statement of the character. So now again, with R090, I'm just kind of adding a little bit of depth by darkening up these edges that frame her face. Now I'm just grabbing G320 and just lightly darkening around the rim of the glasses again. Now with RV300, I'm going to just sketch in a couple loose hairs. This can, I can mess this up easily, but I just try to go in kind of confidently and just stroke in a little loose flyaway hair. And I'm going to use RV300 because it's a lighter pink, so if I mess it up, at least it's a little bit lighter. Just sketching in a couple more little emphasis lines, but just like the other color, it's kind of sinking in, probably because it's such a light color. So it's just sinking right in and it's not really showing up. So I'm gonna grab R120 for those deeper lines on the hair. And again, just thinking about the flow of the hair, how some of them go straight and some of them have a sort of light curve to them. And with hair, you want to think about S curves and C curves. And I say that no matter if the hair is super straight or if it's really, really, really tight coils. So you'll want to think of those S curves, whether they're real wide and flowing, or C curves, especially for the tight coiled hair. I do have a little hair tutorial if you want to see it. It's here on YouTube. There are some awesome hair tutorials, all different types of hair types all over YouTube though, if you want to watch. I know Christina Laura has an awesome hair tutorial and she does really great tutorials all the time, so check her out. All right, with R120, just deepening up these lines now, especially around like the top of the hair where the hair kind of flows out, and then also around the bend around her ear and just where the hair bunches. That's where it would get a little bit darker. All right, and that is a wrap on this one. So let's head into the next sketch. With this next sketch, I wanted to try out some blue line art. So what I did was, in Procreate, I had my line art layer. I just alpha locked the layer, stroking right with 2 fingers, and that alpha locked the layer. And then I colored over my whole line art with this blue color, and that's how you can get different colors of line art. And then I went ahead and printed her out just like the other one, and here we go with it. I am using BG4 Mint Blue to start this one. It's kind of funny, it's called Mint Blue. People are so interesting about that line right between green and blue. Sometimes when me and my daughter see these colors, she's like, that's green. And I'm like, girlfriend, that is blue all day long. So we go back and forth on that. It's just funny how people perceive color differently. So again, just using those strokes with this one and just getting that patch of hair in, that patch of color. So just coloring in each of these little sections, just one at a time, putting in a nice base layer with the markers. And I noticed this little dot on my printout, so you know what, white gel pen to save the day. Gotta get you a white gel pen. Honestly, I use a bunch of different brands of white gel pen. I do really like the Uniball Signo white gel pen though. I'm gonna say white gel pen one more time. White gel pen. So now for the skin, I'm using YR030, and it's actually called Carmine Red, but it's just this kind of peachy color. It's kind of interesting, some of the names that are chosen for the markers. I feel like that's the way with any type of art material. It's like, why is it called that name? But it's hard to name colors. Just filling in each of these different parts, section by section. So there's the ear. And then here to the face, I'm using like these little squiggles, and I'm going around eyeglasses. And then you'll notice I kind of angle my marker up when I get towards the edge, because I have a tendency to go outside the line. So if you use the tip of your marker, you're going to be less likely to go outside the lines, because just the very tip of it will be touching the page. So on these kind of tighter sections, I'll use just the tip of my marker, and then I'll put it more angled if I'm in an area that's more open. Now here on the neck again, just outlining my line art. And then coloring in the cast shadow. And what was nice about this line art is, and most of the line arts that I print out, is I kind of give myself some help, and I color in my cast shadows. So I have to do less work with the markers to deepen those up and darken those up. And now I'm just coloring the shoulder here, using round circular motions. It's kind of funny. My daughter says to me, why don't you draw the bodies? And I said, you're right, I really should. But I like to just do a little bust sometimes. It's fun. So now I'm using R120 to color in these lips. I think that's a nice pretty color. And now I'm grabbing G322 Pale Aqua Mint to color in the eyes. And I'm not really, I'm not being super brave with this one, to be honest. I'm kind of being a little shy with my colors. I'm like, I don't want to go too far out of this blue color harmony I have going on, but that's something that I need to work on and get better at and be more adventurous in my colors and in the way I layer colors. But I do love the simplicity of just a simple color palette, so I'm having fun. Now I'm using YR030 Carmine Red again to just deepen up some of these shadows and some of the areas around the line art. So now for the hair shadow, I'm going to use B030 Frost Blue. And this is just, you know, a shade or two darker than the one I have down as the base layer. And honestly, you can get by with having one color though. You can really layer these, and not a ton, but you can get enough variation for something simple like this illustration. You can get a good amount of depth with just one color. So if you're tight on budget, just pick up a couple of their colors from their website. They sell them in single brushes, or single markers. But what is important is that you get the brush tip, I think. The other side, I don't think really matters. That's up to you, but well, both sides are up to you. But I would highly recommend the brush tip. It's what most artists will use for this type of thing. Now I'm just using BG4 again on the hair and just kind of deepening up some of those hairs and accenting some at the part of the hair. And I'm doing what I said I don't normally do. I'm kind of using blue eyebrows, but I'm just trying to do it really, really light. And now I'm using my trusty Uniball Signo white gel pen, and I'm brightening up those highlights there. And you can do a little circle highlight on the tip of the nose, or you can make it like I'm doing and just kind of do a really thin little line. I find I like that. And for the lips, I'm just gonna do a little dot. It's a little too much. I'm gonna try and dab it out a little. If you catch it quick enough, you can kind of dye it down a little. So now on the skin, I'm using R090 Light Tea Rose, and I'm just deepening up some of these shadows. And it looks really bold, right? But what's nice again about the Ohuhu markers is they do even out. So it's a little jarring right now because it's a little dark compared to the rest of it, but it will kind of fade a little bit as it dries. And if you're wondering what set to get, I would highly recommend the Ohuhu Sweetness and Blossoming set. And if you are not ready to invest in that big of a set, I would recommend the Ohuhu Blossoming or the Ohuhu Sweetness because they sell them separate. And I like the pastel colors because they're buildable, and also they're a little more forgiving than the more vivid colors. Those are so much fun too, and I have a bunch of different sets that I would recommend on my Amazon storefront if you want to check that out. But Ohuhu Sweetness and Blossoming is a really beautiful set. And now I'm just putting some of the white gel pen around on the eyeglasses, and it's not working out like I had expected. So I'm gonna have to kind of clean up that line art a little bit. So I do like to bring in my pencils if I ever want to add a little bit of detail. And I love the Staedtler mechanical pencils, but what's really important for me is the lead that goes inside those. And I really love Pentel lead. It's just super smooth, soft, and I use 0.3 3H Pentel lead. And I also like to use 0.5 4B Pentel lead. And I just put that in the pencils that it will fit in. All right, so being a little bit bold here, I'm using YR030 Carmine Red again on the skin. And, you know, I'm feeling a little more confident about it now because I know that it fades. So putting in these deeper areas just to add a little bit more depth to the character. And now I'm using YR030 again, just around the edges of her glasses. All right, so I'm thinking I need to add a little bit more dimension to her hair. So I'm gonna pick up G420 Green Shadow. I know, I'm very adventurous. I'm adding a little bit of green, kind of branching away from the blue here, and just at this bend in the hair here, I'm just gonna add this sort of greenish color. Almost like she's got ombre hair. Look at me being so daring. Just kidding, I was not very daring, but I had fun, and I think that's the important part. And now I've got B030 Frost Blue to kind of unify these colors. Right here in this pocket, it will be darker, I think. And right here at the part, I do like to darken up just a few little strokes. Darken that up, this side over here. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you if you did. I'd love to see if you make anything. I'll put the line art that I'm using here in the link down below. So check that out if you want, and if you color it, just tag me at Artwork by Gabrielle on Instagram or wherever. Anyway, I love sketching these, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. By the way, which one did you like better? Let me know in the comments. Bye.